Saturday, black market beauties.
I'm calling you a white slaver.
And Hooker wants to set them free. Then,
I'm your son.
Scott becomes an unexpected father on the Love Boat. And it's round one when the wrong girl falls for Rourke on Fantasy Island.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
His paintings redefined comic book heroes. His vision inspired a generation. The Legend of Kingdom Come is the definitive documentary on Alex Ross, known as the Norman Rockwell of comics.
It almost looked like Renaissance paintings, except for superheroes.
He makes them look like Olympian gods.
We go behind the scenes of his definitive graphic novel, Kingdom Come, now on Blu-ray, packed with exclusive interviews and unseen artwork. Order today at legendofkingdomcome.com.
If you're here at Word Balloon, it's because you like comics, creators, conversation, pop culture subjects. Would you consider joining the League of Word Balloon Listeners? Patreon.com/wordballoon. For just $3 a month or more, you'll get exclusive access to the Word Balloon e-magazine, featuring transcriptions of some of my best conversations. When you subscribe, you'll also be part of the Word Balloon Book Club, where Brian Michael Bendis and I will pick a comic every month to review and discuss live with the League on this show. Join the League today, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you always for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's time again for Word Balloon, the pop culture and comics conversation show. John Suntress here. Look who joined us, everybody. My God, right out of the Mach 5. It's Speed Racer.
Try to get the move right for you, John.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's close enough.
Indeed. Richard Ashley Hamilton, welcome back to Word Balloon.
Thank you for having me back. Can you hear me with this thing on? Oh, great.
But by all means, make yourself comfortable. You're achieving the effect without the helmet, but I
feel totally comfortable right now.
Sure you are.
If you have anyone watching, we can take bets to see how long I'm going to last in this helmet.
I don't want you to asphyxiate or anything.
Yeah. Let's set the over-under at 5 minutes, and we'll see how long I go.
So does the wife cosplay as Trixie, I guess would be the question.
No. This actually was a Halloween costume I put together in my 20s when I just started dating my wife. And she went as Little Red Riding Hood. We did not coordinate that part well, but everything else has been just a joy ever since. But yeah, so she is aware of this. This is not a secret lifestyle thing.
Well, she'd have to be. And again, I know your love of comics and things. It's when you find the partner that understands the nerd side, you won. So way to go, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I wore her down eventually. Yeah.
For people who don't know, Richard, of course, an award-winning Cuban-American writer, best known, I'm reading this from the pull quote from the back cover, from his storytelling across DreamWorks Animation on things like How to Train Your Dragon and Guillermo del Toro's Tales of Arcadia franchises. Yeah. But again, lots of comic books over the years for Dark Horse, Aftershock, Insight, Paper Cuts, and more. And currently writing Scoop and Tech, what is it? Tective. Thank you, man.
Yep.
For Mad Cave Studios and Maverick. And we are going to get to his latest volume of Scoop. Volume 4 is out from Maverick, and it's another great saga of poor Sophie and her trials and tribulations as a young journalist in Florida. But first, you dressed for it, for Christ's sake. We got to talk about this great story in Speed Racer, Tales from the Road. Great story, man. I mean, since I can remember, was watching
this damn thing off.
Attaboy. Yeah, it's all right.
Sweating. Thank you. I know you're a Speed Racer fan, as am I, lifelong. And so it was a joy, just a joy to get to do this thing. And it all happened. I don't know if you can see on my bookshelf behind me, I've got a little toy Mach 5. And I happen to be, there it is.
Wow.
I happen to be having a conversation, a Zoom meeting with Chaz Pangburn, who edits all the Speed Racer comics at Mad Cave. He does Flash Gordon, all their licensed books. Great guy, awesome editor. And he saw that and he said, are you a Speed Racer fan? And I was like, Yes, I am. And, he said they had this anthology coming up. The main books are already being done. David Pepos is writing the main book. Awesome stuff. Mark Russell, one of my favorite, not just comics writers, but writers in general, is doing Racer X and doing an amazing noirish kind of thing there.
Oh, yeah.
So I, felt very intimidated, but I guess my love for Speed Racer sort of superseded that. So, and Chaz was just very wonderful and encouraging all along.
The great thing about these, I don't know what you'd call them, revival books, nostalgia books, is because the cartoons were so simple.
Yeah.
They give you this opportunity for backstory. And we're seeing it with what Mark's doing, and really both David and Mark and what they're doing in the Racer X and Speed books. But here you get to do this great story, and it really is this wonderful exploration of their father, Pops Racer.
Yep.
And you can tell right there, right from the cover, there's Pops, and I never know Mrs. Racer's name. Do we know Mrs. Racer?
Well, it's Mom Racer on the cartoon, in the movie, but in the comics, and I don't know if David came up with this, it's Marlene. So,
okay.
So I had never heard that anywhere else, and I even looked on the wiki. So that may be a comics exclusive, but yeah.
But this again, it's really Pop's history, and it's really the whole family's history. And
right.
At the center of the story is, I mean, Speed even says it at the end. Dad, Pops, what is it with us in racing? Why do we give a shit about racing and everything? And because it is so dangerous. But it is so great because we're really getting, and we even got glimpses of this in the old cartoon. Pops when he was a driver.
Yeah.
Like that. We've got him and Marlene heading to the hospital to give birth to Rex. And then we got a scene of them giving birth to Speed. And we get this great slice of family life. Truly, man, I love what you did with the story.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. It was actually a question I had ever since I was a kid watching the show, which was like, how could, thank you.
Pete Beiser commenting for the audio audience.
Awesome.
Wow, I guess he was meant to write the book. He loves the Speed Racer outfit that Richard is wearing. Guys, this is another reason why you got to watch the videos on YouTube, the Word Balloon YouTube channel.
Yeah, because, to see me make a fool of myself. Yeah.
Come on, man. Jesus, no, if you're a Speed Racer fan, I got to be honest, Virginia. First, I'm like, the fuck is he wearing? And then I'm like, oh, no, it's Speed. That's fantastic.
Like, just why is he wearing
I never write. I don't understand.
Just pray I never write Vampirella or Red Sonja.
God forbid.
You may have to blur out the screen.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if my brain can handle that. Yeah, absolutely. But continue. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, it just was ever since I was a kid watching the show. It was like, how could Pops and Mom Racer let their kids do this dangerous sport, especially since, as far as they know, their oldest son died while doing it, and then they're going to let Speed do it. So even just like a little kid, it didn't bother me. It intrigued me. I was just, I don't know why, fascinated by it. On top of everything else that's great about the show. And now I'm a dad. It was actually my dad who introduced me to Speed Racer when I was a kid. And my sons call him Pops or Pop. So that's like, it's in the Hamilton DNA. But like now that I have sons of my own and my oldest boy drives, I, went with him to practice so he could get his license. So like, I was kind of living all this very recently. And I don't know if it's just like the Speed Racer vibe or what, but this is the project that came together the fastest out of any comic I've written. I pitched it quick. It got approved quick. I wrote the script quick. Pablo Andres, who's our awesome artist in this, and is my collaborator on Scoop. So for anyone out there who read our Speed Racer tale and enjoyed it, please come over and check out Scoop. I think you'll like that too. The covers are by Anaki Miranda, who is doing all kinds of great stuff, but Pablo does the interior art and is just an incredible artist and did so many cool things above and beyond in this issue. And then, Chaz assembled the rest of our team. Rebecca Nolte colored it. And Buddy Bedoin, I hope I'm saying that right, is our letterer. And it's got such a fun bounce and just everything, like Pablo's art, Rebecca's colors, Buddy's letters. I really felt like I was, kind of living another episode of the cartoon. And to your point, John, yeah, the kind of the wonderful simplicity of the old show means that when you do comics based on these characters, you have all this extra real estate to explore the emotion behind them. And like, I know I can never write a more exciting race scene than you can see on the show or in the Wachowskis movie, but maybe we can just kind of look at the family dynamics a different way and hopefully love them even more. So that's where we were coming from.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. Well, and again, when we talk about Scoop, you're very good at writing family dynamics. So
Thanks.
absolutely, man. I have to confess, and this may sound crazy because I am a lifelong Speed Racer fan. Never saw the Wachowski movie. I heard so many and again, Jeff Darrow did work for it along with the Wachowskis on the Matrix movies and everything.
Oh, he storyboards for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's like, and I, at the time I think it was already out. It had already been out. Maybe it was one of my later conversations with him, but he's like, honestly, the movie didn't do that well, but when people look back, there's a lot of interesting film technique that the Wachowskis did in the film that will stand the test of time. So yeah, tell me, as someone who is in the business and saw the movie, tell me.
Yeah,
about it.
I remember when the trailers first came out and being kind of like, like it just was not. When I heard the Wachowskis were going to do Speed Racer, I'm like, awesome. I knew they were comic book fans. I mean, you can see it in their movies, but I think by that point they were maybe even doing like their Burly Man comics with like Steve. I'm going to butcher it. Is it Scroce or Scroce?
It's Scroce. Yeah, Scroce.
Thank you. And I think they had done a book with Jeff too. So, I'm like, these guys are going to get it.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, yeah. And I saw it and I didn't quite get it the first time. And I think it was almost kind of like I was just too old for it. I think it was kind of like maybe the Star Wars, the original prequels. George Lucas says he was aiming for a younger audience with those. I was like 20, 21 when I saw those. So it just wasn't for me. But there's another podcast I've been on before called Tentpole Trauma, where they look at movies that kind of were supposed to be big hits, but failed either commercially or critically or both. And they don't watch them just to take the piss out of them. They watch them to be like, well, what worked and what didn't? Why didn't this work out? And I think that's a fun exercise. Like I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Just, with my family.
Sure.
And so I got to be on the Speed Racer episode just because I'm a dork fan. I didn't dress up for that one, but we talked about it and watching the movie again, I really did take on a new appreciation for it. They do some really cool things. It's got a lot of heart. There actually used to be a Speed Racer arcade game, like maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And I loved that thing. I was way too old to be playing it. But the tracks there were like these really vivid, candy colored, glowing, larger than life things. And I felt like in a lot of ways, the movie maybe was even truer to the game than to the animated series or the manga. But I really liked it. I mean, John Goodman was born to play Pops Racer. That was pretty perfect casting. I think it's like, it's worth watching. As long as you don't have a seizure disorder, John. That's the only warning. Like, there's a lot of flashing lights and stuff.
I had heard that, and I'm okay with that stuff. That won't bother me. But and Matthew Fox played Racer X. Emile Hirsch.
That's right.
Speed.
Yeah, Matthew Fox was cool in it.
I'm blanking on who played Rex because it's the guy who was the quarterback on Friday Night Lights, and he did that.
Scott, is it Scott Cooper?
No, but it is Scott, and I can't remember Scott's last name. All right, Chad, help me out.
Maybe
with this.
Someone will know.
But and
that guy was a comic fan too. He lobbied hard to play Cyclops in the X-Men movies. He would have been cool.
Well, he did play the animated voice of Cyclops.
That's right.
In those I forget the name of the animation company from Japan that made it was X-Men, Wolverine, Blade, and Iron Man. And they were all connected as well. And so Scott was in all 4 different series and 13 episodes of series. But yeah, no, he's great. And I didn't see Speed Racer. At the time he was doing a show with Rachel Bilson on the WB called Heart of Dixie. And he's like, and I go, dude, I want to watch your new show. He's like, it's a chick show, dude. You don't have to. But a great guy and a massive. He loves Art and Franco. So yeah, I mean, and that kind of helped me get him on the show back in the day. But yeah, I thought it was cool that Rex was played by a different actor, and then Matthew Fox doing Racer X and everything. Yeah, I think that's neat. I love the cars that you have in your story, and again, you really see the evolution of Pops as a mechanic. and as he's trying to improve on the designs of his cars.
Those were the fun Easter egg things to put in there as a fan. And, it just, my brother is a real gearhead. He has a vintage Mustang. And so I was picking his brain about that, and just sort of like the iterative nature of like fleshing out an engine. And, and so he was really helpful with that. We've got a line in there about spark plugs that came from him. It was just a joy to work on, and people really seem to be enjoying it so far. And by the way, it's it's the actual issue is Speed Racer Tales from the Road #2. It's an anthology series that Mad Cave puts out, but there are also 2 other really fantastic stories in there. The whole thing is, I think, it's like a double-sized comic. It's at least 40, maybe 48 pages of story and art, and it's like $6.99. So it's like a double-sized comic for less than double the price. So, if somebody wants some good bang for their buck and wants to live in the world of Speed Racer, I highly recommend it.
No, honestly, I think Mad Cave does a great job with the licenses they have, and I love the Flash Gordon anthology book that they have as well.
Yep.
And I love what DiDio is doing with Defenders of the Earth, putting all the King feature superheroes together. Was there any vetting for your story that you had to deal with?
Yeah, there was. Tatsunoko is they are their owners, the rights holders of Speed Racer, and they were just a joy to work with. I mean, they really didn't have too many notes on ours. There is always some sort of cultural sensitivity stuff that they looked out for, but no big red flags or anything. And I've sort of worked on both sides of licensed comics. I wrote you mentioned the How to Train Your Dragon ones, the Tales of Arcadia ones were like Troll Hunters. That was the show Guillermo did at DreamWorks. And so I got to write those, but also my day job at DreamWorks was to work on those franchises and sort of look at other people turning in stuff and making sure that, yes, this fits the characters in the world, or no, like, Hiccup would never say this, that sort of thing. And so it's tough. It's like those things can be a real minefield getting approvals, but Tatsunoko was great about it.
That's cool. No, again, I didn't really. I'm glad they let you kind of show the development of the Mach 5 as we, again, you don't really see it. You see other cars that Pops worked on, both for Rex and for I assume Speed as well, obviously. Yeah. And then we see, it's almost like, there's that great image of that center piece of the wheel that held all the crazy gadget buttons and everything.
Yeah, with the letters. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So no, and also some, the ideas for some of the designs of some of the gadgets. And
well, everything. Yeah, that was the thing that kind of amazed. There were 2 things that amazed me with sort of the approvals process, and one was that they would be okay with us sort of. I don't know if it's a retcon. I just don't know that anyone ever explained. I mean, I'm a pretty big fan. I don't remember. I'm sure somebody will say maybe in the old Now Comics series from the 80s they did this, but nobody really explained like where did Pops get the idea for the turbo jacks or the defensor shield or the little homing beacon thing. I knew this story was very Pops centric, obviously, but the name of the comic is Speed Racer Tales from the Road, so I wanted to like try and find a way to have Speed somehow be involved in the genesis of like all the cool goodies and gadgets that he benefits from on the track, rather than just having it be handed to him, to just kind of make him like a more active participant in that. So that's, without giving away those beats in the comic for anyone who hasn't read it, we try to come up with a way to explain all that. And I was always fascinated by the wheel with the different letters, especially because they're English language letters and it's a Japanese cartoon. So like, that always struck me. The original description was that it was going to be sort of like one of those, in the comic, it was going to be like one of those speak and spell toys that like A is for apple, B is for banana, that kind of thing. But Pablo took it and ran with it. And the other kind of cool surprise, and I really credit Chaz and Mad Cave with this, is this story is, I think it's 20 pages long. I think that's about right. So not a ton of real estate, and we cover a lot of time in Pop's life and in the kids' lives and watch them grow up. And I really was hoping that we didn't have to do captions that would say like 3 months later, 5 months later. One, because those things always sort of take me out, and two, we do so much, like almost every page is a time jump. I felt like a reader would get so sick of seeing that caption in the front. 5 months later, 6 months later. So I was worried we'd get the lettering proof back and they would decide, we really need these captions. No, they really stuck by it. And I think it's really a testament to our artist, Pablo, who just very seamlessly in the art handled the transitions. You could see the characters aging, and it wasn't like beating you over the head with it.
No, it read fine. Absolutely. Man. Absolutely read fine. So I think, no, success and congratulations. I hope this is the first of many Speed Racer stories, because clearly you know what to do with these characters.
I hope so too. From your lips to Chaz Pangburns and Tatsunoko's ears.
There you go, man. Way to go. Is it out now?
It's out now. You can get it at your local comic shop. You can order it online. Mad Cave actually has a pretty great website, very easy to order. And if you don't have a comic shop in your area, I always want to start there, but if you don't, first of all, I'm sorry for you. And second of all, go to bookshop.org. It's a great website that actually sources their books from brick and mortar stores, mom and pop stores, not chains. And they often have prices that are competitive, if not better than like an Amazon or whatever. So bookshop.org.
Bookshop.org. Very cool. Excellent, man. All right, let's move on to what Sophie's doing in Scoop in Volume 4. And first, of course, you see, you had my attention right away with the title of Volume 4, Deep Fake.
Yeah.
Man, we're getting a lot. Remind people of the series in general. Again, this is the 4th chapter.
Yeah, sure. Scoop is about Sophie Cooper. She's a Cuban-American girl growing up in my hometown of Miami and had a totally normal life until her dad was accused of this like major financial crime, Bernie Madoff level, Sam Bankman-Fried, that sort of thing. There hasn't been a trial, but everyone in Miami is convinced her dad is guilty. And there's like a media circus parked on their front lawn 24/7. They're always doing the watch to see what's her dad up to, etc. So it's totally ruined their lives. And for Sophie, she's the only person who believes her dad is innocent. And she thinks that, well, if the news media has like turned my dad into a bad guy, I'm going to use the news to clear his name. And so she starts interning at a local news station, WMIA 7. But they are just, it's the worst Mickey Mouse amateur hour news station. They're all inept. They get all the facts wrong. They show up late to stories. Like all their news chopper's been repossessed. Like they can't even afford the nice Doppler weather system. They can't do a green screen. They've got to like stick little felt suns and clouds on a map. They're idiots. But there is this one reporter there named Hal Ritz, and he's kind of like a washed up news hound, but he sees something in Sophie. She reminds him of himself as a cub reporter. And so he takes her under his wing and teaches her the ropes of journalism. And that's all well and good, but because Sophie's an intern, she's not like out there breaking amazing stories. She's doing intern stuff. And I used to intern at CNN when I was a teenager. So this is all based in reality, but she's getting coffee for people. She's answering calls, all the like gopher work.
Yeah.
But because of that position, when people are calling in with like crank calls about weird news stories, lights in the sky over the Everglades or ghosts in Little Havana, she fields all those calls, and none of the other reporters want to touch any of that. And she's not really interested in it either. But then she gets a hot tip, and it's talking about this weird supernatural stuff, but it's somehow tied to the case against her dad. And so now she wants to investigate it. And she goes and she checks it out, and it turns out all the supernatural stuff is true. UFOs, alligator people, chupacabras, time travel, it's all real and all connected to the case against her dad. So if she can report all this stuff and prove that it's real to the rest of the world, she can finally clear her dad's name and she can get her normal life back. And that's kind of the large overarching mystery of every volume of Scoop. Veronica Mars was a huge sort of influence on this. And just like how each season of Veronica Mars would have like a giant mystery that would span every episode, but there'd be like little standalone mysteries for each episode, we try to do the same thing. Each volume of Scoop is a standalone sci-fi mystery with some true crime elements. And then there's the larger story about what's up with Soph's dad and family. And we finally pay all that off in volume 4. And this is kind of trippy because my editor on this book, Christina Harrington, who's awesome, asked me to write some back matter material for it. Like we had a couple pages in the back and, the genesis of Scoop. And I looked back through my original notes and I realized that I started writing this thing about 17 years ago. Like,
wow.
I started taking my original experience from CNN and my love of Veronica Mars and then adding all the weird sci-fi crap to it. And I started, the first outline I finished was right when my son Max was born. Now he is 17 years old, which is Sophie's age, and which is crazy to me. And I used to identify more with Sophie, and now I'm like, I kind of identify more with her parents. So, but that's a weird, that's my issue I'll work through. But the other thing that was kind of cool was I realized that the plan was originally, strangely enough, for 4 volumes, and how each one kind of had these discrete mysteries, but that by volume 4 we'd really pay off what really happened with her dad. Is he guilty? Is he innocent? What does it mean for her whole family? And so that stuff somehow remained intact in all that time. Other things changed. The whole deep fake element is a much more, that didn't exist 17 years ago. That's a much more contemporary thing, but wound up sliding in way better than what I originally had planned. And so we got really lucky there. And Pablo draws the hell out of it. And, it's it takes a special artist when you say to him, I need you to make sort of the living embodiment of deep fake video manipulation. And I need it to be a physical threat that Sophie can fight in this volume. Can you do that? And he was like, no problem. Here's some options. So he gave us all these options. So I think it's a fun trip. It's, I feel like it's probably the most emotional volume we've done. We have to land the plane on a lot of loose plot threads from the previous volumes. I think we do all that, but I also didn't want it to be like an exposition dump thing. So I just really wanted to be like character over plot. And I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I hope other people are too. It's also out in stores now.
Well, again, you should be. It's a great YA story, but like you said, Veronica Mars, no question. X-Files, no question. And your own personal experience working in a newsroom comes through. The whole deep fake. We got this person that sadly is in charge of everything in our country, and started yelling about fake news. And sadly, technology has caught up with his claims. And I mean, he was lying about a lot of truths about himself. But now, sadly, there is this entire industry, I don't even know what else you call it, about deep fakes. And to the point now where, as you know, with AI, it's available to the consumer. I saw that Grok had to shut down the ability of people taking, photographs and being able to manipulate them and having women undress, things like that, crazy
stuff. Children, absolutely.
Children,
It's now my understanding. I mean, the UK and other countries just threatened to ban Twitter entirely, and so then, or X, sorry, and so they made changes so they limit it now. That Grok is only, I think, available to like licensed or registered users of Twitter, and even then, there are safeguards in place that are supposed to prevent this kind of thing from happening.
Yes.
But that's like whack-a-mole. It's going to happen somewhere else. I mean, I'll kind of do you one worse, John, and I not take no joy in this, but say what you will about our president, wherever you are on the political spectrum. I tend to agree with you, but it not only is he talked about fake news, and he actually has shared deep fakes on his own social media feeds. I mean, there was one thing of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero, and this is our president of the United States. I wish he were legislating, instead is doing that kind of stuff. And then also there's other people on the other side who are launching doctored videos of Trump saying and doing I mean, even the South Park guys kind of did that in the season premiere. That was like a funny version of it, but it's scary how anyone can do this now.
Parody is one thing.
Yes.
Messing with true facts, like when a couple of years ago they slowed down a Nancy Pelosi speech and like, oh, look how drunk she is. No, you just fucked with the speed. We all know that.
They also sped up the reporter Acosta, his hand, and made it look like he was like karate chopping a White House intern or something. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and so there's that stuff, and also, again, the sad thing is when they try to present this stuff as truth. Because one of the earliest deep fakes was this thing called Parrot, and I even made, just in jest, a testimonial from Obama, a testimonial from Joe Biden, and Trump denouncing word balloon. And they were ridiculous. And I even did one of Ted Cruz and ended with him saying, "Don't mess with Texas." Fine. Again,
Sure.
Beyond ridiculous. And even as mean-spirited as Trump's things were with Hakeem Jeffrey suddenly being in the sombrero and some of the other stuff, or the gross thing of the plane dumping on the protest.
Oh, yeah.
We'll leave it at dumping. People
Yeah.
know what we're talking about. But yeah, I mean, again, all that stuff, it's stupid.
Yeah.
But that's fine. But no, it is when they have already created an idea of don't trust journalists and everything. And
Yeah.
journalists are not perfect. They get stories wrong. But we've always had retractions or ombudsman or editorials. Hey, we need to make a correction. Now we've got somebody that is enjoying his second term that has really built his whole foundation on you can't trust anything you hear. And sadly, people believe it. And now again, the technology matches that there are legitimate questions of what we see and hear.
Well, not to make this super political, but I will just say that, because my bio says I'm a Cuban American writer. I mean, that's true. My mom was born in Cuba and moved to the United States when she was 7. And the reason she and my grandparents and my uncle moved was right when Castro came into power. But there was all this horrible stuff that was going on the lead up to that, guerrillas leaving, bombs around there. My mom has a distinct memory of her dad telling her, like, look, if you're walking on the sidewalk or street and you see like a bag there and it's unattended, don't go near it, don't explore, because they were like leaving bombs anywhere to just inflict collateral damage.
Yes.
But another thing that they did that sort of all despots and ideologues and dictators do is they try to undermine everyone's trust in authority, and beginning with the media, and just try and get you to second guess and doubt facts as they're presented to you. So the stuff that's happening now, it's using new technology, but they are unfortunately not new tactics. It's kind of a playbook of a totalitarian.
Yeah. Also, another great thing, again, because of your own heritage, we're getting a great look at some Cuban history and, of course, some sci-fi. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, you refer to an extraterrestrial incident that happened in 1960. Is that something that really was documented in Cuba at the time?
Well, the date we use in the comic is actually the date that my mom and her parents emigrated to the United States. So December 14th, 1960. So now,
okay,
just over 65 years ago.
Yeah.
No, that is a little bit of fiction, but it is based on sort of similarly documented stories, more having to do with like the Bermuda Triangle and people who claim to have seen crop circles in the Everglades, which is really hard to do because the Everglades is a river. It's a translation for a rough translation from a Mikazuki term meaning river of grass. So very hard to leave impressions on that, but we even touch on that in one of the volumes of Scoop. So no, that part was like a little bit of fancy. The part that is real though, and actually ties into some of my family history, this is really weird. We have in Scoop this bunker in the Everglades that Sophie finds in volume 1, and it keeps reoccurring. And in volume 4, we finally explain its history. It's a little bit like the bunker in Lost, but I think makes a little more sense than that. And that is all based on a bunker that I actually found in Miami just in my neighborhood. We happened to be by a canal, and there was this weird bunker that had been built into, it was 2 or 3 stories into the ground, which is solid limestone. Your average general contractor can't do that. That is government construction, but had been long since abandoned. So that is something I actually saw and went into with my own eyes. And I remember when Hurricane Andrew came, it rained so much that it flooded all the lower levels. And so we even have something like that in Scoop, I think volume 2. But when my grandfather, after he had moved to the United States, he still, loved his home country and wanted to go back and liberate it, and was actually involved in some of the early training for the Bay of Pigs.
Wow.
And and would go out in the Everglades with a bunch of other expatriates. And my grandfather was actually in the Cuban military. He was a doctor, and he was with the Cuban army fighting Castro's insurgency guerrilla forces up there. They lost, he won. My boompa was all ready to go back over to Cuba as part of the Bay of Pigs invasion. And it was my grandmother who said to him, "Do not do this. This is not going to go well." Yeah. And one of the few times my grandfather actually listened to my grandmother, and thank God for that. So he really dodged that bullet. Our mutual pal, Kurt Matilla, who's into all this stuff, is endlessly fascinated by my weird Cuban heritage stories. But yeah, so like all that stuff went into the blender with time travel and aliens and et cetera. And that's kind of gets spat out that way in Scoop. So
we'll cliff note Bay of Pigs for the younger audience that may not know, but a big scandal during the Kennedy administration, early on in the Kennedy administration, where the CIA convinced him to help support these Cuban nationals who wanted to invade Cuba and reclaim the country.
Right.
And they botched it. And, in a lot of ways, again, this is where research is your friend, and that should do it. And mentioning Kurt, you know what's ironic, Richard? Mine and Kurt's connection, because, of course, Kurt helped Oliver Stone make the more recent JFK documentary he made for Showtime a couple of years ago. Well, one of the kernels of the conspiracy story was a Chicago conspiracy that was going to happen 2 weeks before Dallas. Again, this is a conspiracy theory that the assassination of an attempted assassination of Kennedy was going to happen in Chicago 2 weeks before Dallas. I happened to do a reality show that wanted to explore this conspiracy theory. So I did an episode of a show called The Unexplained, not to be confused with William Shatner's Unexplained or Dan Aykroyd's Unexplained. This is
the good Unexplained.
Exactly. This is the good one because I'm on it. Absolutely. Jimmy Church. I couldn't think of his name for a second. He's a big conspiracy podcast guy. And actually, Oming even did an episode of The Unexplained talking about drones and the mysteries behind drones and government drones. Cool. So they reran it like 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you have access to a digital channel. It's called Story. And
I do. I know the one. I will look for it because I know you've mentioned it before, like some of your TV appearances.
Yeah.
And they're sort of fleeting these days. So I'll look for it.
Well, it's great because truly they show this Unexplained episode, and then they also show my show Prophets of Science Fiction that I did 3 episodes too. So yeah, if you want your John Sucher's video collection, you go to Story, and because they have essentially their library is old A&E and History Channel programming. Right. And that's great because a lot of that stuff is evergreen. There's good nerd stuff. Like I've seen.
Oh, absolutely.
I was gonna say I've seen like histories of like Lee Falk, the creator of the Phantom. Yep. And also a great history of Flash Gordon, starting with the comic strip and going all the way, beyond the De Laurentiis movie and everything. Right. So yeah, no, it's if you really look for it, and again, also it's just old History Channel things. So it's world history, it's American history, and the weird stuff too. So it's a fun channel, and I'm thrilled. And yeah, every now and then, and that's what happened like 2 weeks ago. It was like Saturday night, and my friend texts me, and he's like, "Hey man, your episode about JFK is on there." I'm like, oh my God. And the great thing is they have like 4-hour blocks that they rerun.
Right.
So like, oh, I missed it. I'm like, all right, I'll DVR it and everything. Cause I still don't have a hard copy of it. And,
really?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm going to sit with my iPhone at some point and like record from my screen. Cause I don't have
bootleg your own episode.
Well, yeah. And I'll put up a short of me talking about the Kennedy conspiracy, but no, how's Kurt doing, by the way?
He's doing great. He's working on some very cool documentaries now, directing some, still working with Oliver, and he's got some other neat projects. We're actually going to get drinks Friday night, so I'll tell him you said hi.
Absolutely. No, I'm going to email him when we're done and just see how he's doing. No, Kurt's an interesting guy, and for everyone, I hope he did a great movie, folks, and I know Richard knows. He did a movie called Stuntman, and it was about this amazing guy who decided to take Evel Knievel's idea of creating a sky cycle to jump over the Snake River Canyon and really do it. And it's a great documentary. I believe the title is Stuntman.
It is. Yep. It's Stuntman. It premiered on Disney Plus. Unfortunately, due to some changes at Disney, it got pulled off of there, and they're trying to figure out
New platform.
how else to, and where else it could live. The weird, maybe it'll be on your channel, but the weirdest thing is that Bob Iger, like the current head, soon he's going to leave soon, but he loved it and actually was like emailing with Eddie, the stuntman, the guy who's the actual stuntman in the movie, saying like how they want to do more of these things and how great it is. And then like, you know, then they kind of did the opposite. Hollywood.
What are you going to do? No,
Yeah.
I understand.
But it's a great movie. And just, you know, one of those ones where like, you know, some people hear the term documentary and they think like it's, you know, going to be slow moving or whatever. This is one where you're really on the edge of your seat the whole time. It's really suspenseful and a lot of heart. It's great.
Well, this is where I give Kurt credit and friends like Brian Volkweiss, who's been making really fun documentaries. And I really do think today's documentarians know that there has to almost be a better approach than that old public television guy in front of a bookcase. Well, you know, in 42, what we did was, and again, hey man, I love that shit. I am all about that. World at War, the old one that Olivier narrated, that the Brits made. My God. I mean, the level of research and thankfully, when it was made in the 70s, there were still a lot of survivors from not only the Allies, but the Germans and the Japanese and the Russians. I mean, so yeah, I love that stuff. But yeah, man, no, everyone's got to juice it up. Do you? I don't know if you saw it. Mentioning documentaries, the Mel Brooks documentary that's on HBO.
I was just gonna say I watched both parts of it and loved it. I mean, how could you not? What's his name? Judd Apatow. Yep. He's actually directed a couple of really great documentaries about comedians. There's the Gary Shandling one. That was one that I never knew that much about Gary Shandling. Gave me a whole new appreciation. But yeah, you know, like what you're saying, we're kind of in this golden age of like there's documentaries everywhere, but which is a good thing, but also like you got to make yours stand out against the pack a little more, right? To kind of juice it up. So that was one that I saw recently that I loved. And there's another one out called The Librarians, which is all about you probably know the efforts in certain states to ban books, including some comics in libraries, and also just like the threats that a lot of these librarians face. It's really, I mean, it's something I try to be active in and aware of. One of my favorite conventions I ever go to is the ALA, the American Librarian Association one.
Yeah.
It's actually going to be in Chicago this year.
I'm well aware, man. Are you coming?
Unfortunately, I cannot attend this time.
Too bad, man.
I know. I'm doubly bummed. But it's in New Orleans next year, so you have to keep me away at gunpoint from that one.
I respect that. I absolutely.
But on a more serious note, like you know, it's a really concerning thing. Again, also just thinking back to like stories my mom and my uncle told me about in Cuba and how like certain materials were deemed inappropriate and were censored. And it was just like whatever the government, whoever was in power wanted you to read. That kind of stuff like really sets off my spidey sense in a big way. It's a huge problem. So again, regardless of where people are on the political spectrum, really, you know, if we want to live in a democracy, we can't allow stuff like that to happen. And for God's sake, don't threaten the librarians. They're doing a job. They're trying to help people. And some of these librarians, some of them are even like military vets. They fought for this country. They've defended us. And these people who are just largely uninformed are attacking them and threatening their lives. It's crazy.
No, I agree. And also, as you and I are former broadcasters, we're all about the First Amendment and freedom of speech. And yeah, so my hackles get up as well about what people try to mess with libraries. And also, I mean, this has been a constant conversation on my show. I really appreciate the evolution of libraries and how they really have become great learning centers beyond checking out books. And you know, especially in big cities, and then I hope in other communities as well. If you want to learn how to do video production, you go to the library, things like that. And it really is, and it's such a valuable community thing. Don't fuck with the libraries; they're good, you know,
and they're free. You know, like it's the best deal in this country, and that's kind of the other really terrible outcome of a lot of the censorship is that libraries are being closed just completely. And entire communities are going without them. I'm pretty lucky here in LA. We've got a bunch of great libraries, and they have activities for teens, for seniors, for everyone. They do movie screenings. You could rent movies free. If they don't have it at that library, they can get it from a nearby one very quickly. It's like pretty great.
Well, even digitally, Hoopla is so
Hoopla, Libby,
wonderful.
yep,
Not only for movies, but comics as well.
comics.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, it's
Yeah.
again and free, everybody. Free. I mean,
I
it's
actually think like Hoopla and Libby were kind of unfortunately more comicsology killers than Amazon was
well, that's
itself, because
interesting. Yeah,
you
maybe.
could get, I mean, you know, and I don't know quite how it works out. Like I used to have my self-published books on comicsology, and I would get like fractions of a penny, you know, like if I was lucky. So I don't even know how much creators would get from each download on there versus do they get any royalties from you know, library downloads. But at least your books are getting read, and you know, you can't argue with free digital comics. That's a pretty sweet deal.
I'm with you, man. Here a comment from the chat. Hyperjack810 says Richard Beechin sent us here right after class. Great outfit.
Oh. Thank you, Hyperjack. So that you know, actually, I'm glad. Thank you for chiming in. John, I remember you had Mark Waid on, was it last week?
Yeah.
And somebody asked about like classes or resources for comic book writing. So the Beechin that Hyperjack just mentioned, that's Adam Beechin, who is well, a good friend of mine, but a great writer in comics and animation. Yeah. I first became aware of him. He did a run of Robin at DC. It was right after right after 52.
Yeah.
And Infinite Crisis, the 1 year later thing. And I loved his stuff then. He did a bunch of books there. He self-published a bunch of books, including this great one called Hench, which is like a comic story, but told from the evil henchman's point of view. Did a couple of volumes of that, I think. But he's also done so much stuff in animation. He's written live action. I think he wrote an episode of MacGyver. He's a cool guy.
Oh,
but
great.
Adam also teaches a class, an online class on comic book writing. And I was lucky enough to be a guest speaker there last week. It was actually a week ago tonight, and he did it last year. I did one there too. He gets a bunch of cool people from the industry on there, and then me. But you know, it's for anyone who's interested in it. The program is called Elevator, but it's spelled funky, kind of like the way distillery is spelled. Like there's some missing vowels in there, so just look. But it's kind of like the master class online class sort of setup. But look up Elevator, Adam Beechin, and it's a really great class. Adam takes you through writing your own comic book script from like soup to nuts. And you know, if you listen to him and you do your work, I believe you walk out of there with like a completed comic script that you can, you know, either produce yourself or shop around to editors, try and get some good work. And you know, it's not just the nuts and bolts of the writing, but also kind of the real practical stuff of like, how do you approach an editor? How do you find like all the stuff I would have loved to have learned when I was breaking in. So highly recommend that.
That's great. Felipe Rivera. I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name, buddy. But I also hear from Adam's course.
Awesome.
And tells us that it's spelled Elvtr.
Thank you.
For elevator. So that's awesome. No, you know, I've never met Adam, but I know we've got another mutual friend, and that's Heath Corson.
Yes. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, Adam's a great guy. If you and he, I mean, his comic love is deep and abiding. So thank you for cool. Thank you guys for jumping on here. That's cool.
Yeah, that's great, man. No, and I appreciate that you guys are learning from a good writer like Adam. So that's really great to hear, man. No, I appreciate it, Hench. Yeah, Richard, that's the thing. Sometimes the writers come and go, and I'm like, oh, you know, I got to get that guy. And then suddenly I look up and it's 5 years later. It's like, oh, and he's and guess what? He's no longer in comics. He does animation now or whatever. And it's like,
no, tell me about it. But I, you know, like Adam even did some stuff at Wildstorm. You know, like when Ben Abernathy was editing those books, like he was doing Wildcats and Stormwatch and stuff. And he's got some very cool tales from then and DC in the sort of early aughts. So
I won't embarrass a veteran comic book creator who I'm not a big fan of, but I know a great story that involves Heath and Adam and another great veteran comic book creator. I'll tell you off the air.
All right.
But, what have you been watching lately? What nerd stuff have you been looking at?
Well, let's see. I've only seen the first episode of Wonder Man, but I'm
intrigued.
Amazing.
Great.
Dude, after how many years of crap? It's like, and I'm saying it, everybody. This is John's editorial.
Yeah.
It was such a surprising delight that Wonder Man is excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, two great actors. And, Wonder Man is, so first of all, I'm watching it with my oldest son, Max, who is the president of his high school's Marvel club. But that's MCU Marvel. Like, none of those kids in there read the comics. They don't want to know about the comics. They just focus on the movies and TV shows. And yeah, I would say with the exception of like Daredevil, Born Again, Marvel's been, for me, and I can't believe I'm living in a world where I'm complaining about, oh, there's a superhero show and movie and I don't like it. But a lot of them were not for me. And it sounds like weren't for most people. Daredevil was great. This is off to a really promising start. And Wonder Man is one of my favorite Marvel characters of all time. I like all the weirdos, but in the 90s, Wonder Man had his own book, and it was one of my favorites. It's actually, I mean, I was reading it as a kid in Miami, and only recently kind of looked at it again. I was like, I think this is why I moved to LA, was reading this book. It really, they had a lot of jokes about living in LA and in Hollywood and how you need a car to get everywhere. And Wonder Man used to have this like belt that had rockets on the sides, but he lost that early on, and he couldn't afford a car. And it was, and the art was done by Jeff Johnson, who is unbelievable.
Oh, I love Jeff Johnson.
He's
sure.
I think doing the thing with James Robinson now, Murder Kingdom or something. I think it's on your show talking about it.
Yep.
That guy I would kill to work with. He's one of my all-time faves.
Ever since when he was at CrossGen, I think he was doing Way of the Rat.
Way of the Rat, and the legend is he's like an actual trained martial artist, and
I knew
that's
that.
why his fight scenes are so killer. So
absolutely.
Oh my God, I wish I'd love to work with him on anything. And it was written by Jerry Jones, who did some bad stuff and got into some trouble, but hell of a good writer.
Yeah, he is a good writer, and again. Paying for his crimes. So, what are you going to do? I met Jerry a few times. I'll tell you, folks, because I respect people that if they're canceled, I can't support anything, period. Gerard Jones, back in the day, wrote an excellent history of early days of comics called Men of Action. And again, folks, if you want a really good, detailed history of comics, that is a good book. It is a documented history. Again, not excusing any of Mr. Jones's crimes. So
no, absolutely. But
wow, that got heavy.
What's that?
I said, wow, that got heavy.
Can we go back to talking about politics and deep fakes?
Exactly, exactly, man. No, I hear you. Any other nerds? Because have you caught The Beauty yet?
No, I haven't yet. It's again a total first world comic nerd problem. I don't have the time to watch it just now. Because I'm going between watching Wonder Man, Peaky Blinders, which I'm like 3 seasons into it. I'm catching up on that.
It's great.
It's awesome. I love it. And then, of course, my wife is into Heated Rivalry and it wants me to watch that with her. So I've started watching that. It's have you heard of it? It's great. I'm only 2 episodes into that.
Cool.
But
all right.
Yeah. So, but what other like nerd stuff? I'll tell you my favorite movie of last year was Predator Badlands. I loved it. Loved it. It was like, there were like 6 different times where I wanted to stand up and cheer during it. There was so much heart. I never thought there'd be heart in like a Predator movie, but it kind of reminded me of like classic Jim Cameron storytelling, just really lean, muscular stuff. So that was great. I actually liked Avatar Fire and Ash a lot. Speaking of Jim Cameron, I thought the villain in that, she was incredible and looked amazing in 3D and stuff.
Cool.
So,
I just got my screeners for the SAG Awards.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of I don't know when I know the balloting is at the end of the month. But yeah, and I mean it's a very nice bonus being part of the union that you get to vote on the SAGs and get these screeners. And,
sure.
I just, it gives me a little opportunity to be a little better informed come Oscar time. So, that'll be nice. Hyperjack says here, he's got a comment about Badlands. Says it was such a breath of fresh air for the franchise. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I loved Prey also, which I think is the same writer director.
Yep.
And he also did what was it 10 Cloverfield Lane? I actually really like all his movies.
Oh, I remember that. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was a real breath of fresh air, and I think it kind of leaves the franchise in an interesting place. And it didn't get too bogged down on like a lot of backstory or stuff. But you know, if you're a fan of the other movies, you'll catch the Easter eggs for sure. So yeah, I love that. I'm looking forward to the new season of Daredevil. Can't wait for that.
Here's another one of Adam's students saying hello.
Oh, hello,
Gerald. Thank you, Gerald, for coming in. Good to see
welcome.
you.
I think these guys just finished class and they're now staying up even later to hang out with us. Thanks for doing that, guys.
And Hyperjack mentions, of course, for Predator, all the animated stuff on Hulu too. Yes, indeed. And yes, there was an anthology series that was pretty fun. I completely agree with that.
The animated film was fantastic. In fact, one of our neighbors worked on it. We live in Glendale, which is right by where DreamWorks Animation was and Disney is. And so there are a lot of animators here. And especially we live by like 2 or 3 traditional 2D animators who still do the old like cell drawn stuff. So to every now and then they have us over for like a wine and cheese or have all the neighbors over for a block party. And I just love going through their home and looking at all this animation memorabilia. It's so cool.
Is there within your community and also your old friends at DreamWorks, for example, because, and this is something you and I have talked about before, and I talk about it with other animation people, and I know that the streamers and the studios pulling back a little bit on animation. Are you seeing any well, actually, I guess there are still big animated movies happening and everything, but
yeah,
are you seeing any sort of independent, moves to for any animated projects from people you know?
Ask me again next month. There's an event, or actually in a couple of weeks, a thing called Kid Screen, where all these animation and entertainment companies that specialize in kids and family entertainment. It's kind of like it's almost like a Comic-Con for those industry professionals, and they all meet and kind of get more of like a sense of the state of the union.
Okay.
It's been pretty grim there the past couple of years because it's not that Netflix and the others pulled back a little; they pulled back a lot, and that was after they had created. This is all during the streaming boom and the streaming wars and all that. They created sort of this. I guess it turned out to be an artificial demand for animation. Like Netflix even created its own in-house animation studio. They took a bunch of people who had been at DreamWorks and were going to make all their animated movies in-house. And for a number of reasons, those just didn't come together. I really do think there is something for most projects to like the traditional studio model where you do have notes and you do have to iterate, and not always like our first impulse is the best. And the cool thing about streaming is like you can binge stuff as long as you want. There's like an unlimited runtime, but that's maybe not always the best thing for the actual storytelling, right? So, these are all lessons everyone's learning as they're going through this. And then I think it was in 2022, Wall Street was like, Netflix and all the streamers are just like trying to build subscriber numbers. That's all everyone, just the most subscriber numbers, get more subscribers, spending ungodly amounts of money to do that. And then in 2022, Wall Street's like, you guys still know you need to make money, right? Like this is business. And so I think Netflix lost half of its value in one day, like on the stock market, they got killed. And then in typical Hollywood fashion, everyone else got freaked out and they see what the industry leader does. And Netflix is like, well, we're done doing animation in-house for the most part. And, we're not going to order as much animation from outside providers. That's why like publishers like Aftershock, you and I know about all that all too well. That's kind of why they had their collapse, because their business model was predicated on optioning, a miniseries or a graphic novel to a streamer and kind of coasting off of that to bankroll the next tranche of graphic novels, right? Like to be like an IP farm.
Yes.
So yeah, it was like that trickle effect that really hurt all the streamers, hurt publishers, all these ancillary businesses, and still so many people in not just animation, live action, everything, that are still struggling for work out here. And the other crazy thing is like the strikes that were in 2023 that kind of hobbled the industry all over again after the pandemic. Well, guess what? It's now been 3 years later, and all those contracts are from you. You know, this is a SAG member, so you know, the Writers Guild, the DGA, SAG, they're all up to renegotiate their contracts with the studios, and everyone's on pins and needles out here waiting to see what happens. So hopefully, we're not going to have to go through that stuff again.
Absolutely. B Things had a couple questions for you.
Oh, great.
Has Richard heard any responses about how Adobe discontinuing Animate will affect the animation industry?
Yes, great question. I was just talking to my wife about this today because she works at Adult Swim, and they, Adobe. The short answer and the good news is it sounds like Adobe's actually reversed that decision because there was such outcry about it, and so they're not going to sunset that technology, at least not right now. But I always think it's good, like to the extent that people can afford to do it or have the bandwidth to do it, cross-train on a couple of different platforms just to cover your bases. It's always good to diversify, right?
Agreed.
But yeah, but that was going to be really very difficult for a lot of studios. But I think we kind of skirted that one for right now.
That's good to hear.
Last I heard. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. He also wanted to know if you watch other anime beyond Speed Racer.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, my younger son Ben is super into anime, so he's kind of my conduit for it right now. But we watch through him. I got to learn about JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen. We saw the Demon Slayer movie in theaters. It was in Infinite Castle. Sorry, I'm kind of a poser. But that stuff's amazing. There's one coming out. I think is it called Scarlet? That looks incredible. That I'm really looking forward to that one. I don't watch so much on streaming, although I should. But you know, when I was a young lad, Blockbuster Video didn't have a ton of anime, but whatever it did, I got. And so, Fist of the North Star, Guyver, Cry Freeman. Do they have that?
Sure. Yeah.
Even some things that were a little naughty that I shouldn't have looked at that age. But Blockbuster's like, oh, it's cartoons. It's for
it'll
kids.
Be fine.
These kids love tentacles. So yeah, I saw a lot. Guyver was a big one.
Sure.
And then of course, yes, Speed Racer, and then the original Robotech stuff. And yeah, I don't know if you count Voltron as that. I do, but I know it got remixed over here. But yeah, could not get enough of that stuff as a kid. And now again, we're living in this golden age where I think, what did Netflix say? Almost Infinity Castle. Thank you, Hyperjack. Yes. I think over half of all Netflix users have watched or regularly watch anime. So that's incredible. And then sort of like what I think there was an earlier question about this. The good news potentially about animation right now is for us, for Netflix, is Netflix's biggest movie of last year. Do you know what it was? K-pop Demon Hunters. Animated movie. Now, Sony made it and Netflix got it through this kind of pretty wonderful deal for them. But it was such a big hit, and they even released it in theaters for like a weekend and made another $20 million. And like now everyone is chasing, like there was just the Nuremberg Toy Fair, and they finally started releasing K-pop Demon Hunters toys and dolls and merch, and everyone's going crazy. There's gonna be like a major chase strategy for this. So I think the good news is Hollywood, they just copy each other. So I think there will hopefully be more animation like that. And hopefully it's just as successful. And then we can start to get like a resurgence going.
Here's hoping. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Man. You know what I loved regarding anime last year, and it was on HBO Max and Cartoon Network, Lazarus, the guy that did Cowboy Bebop.
Yes.
And I really enjoyed that series. And then, of course, a couple of years ago, Blue Eyed Samurai on Netflix was wonderful.
Yep.
And I had never heard of this, but last night I had my friend Bill Detloff on, who's a former Ring Magazine editor, publisher, big reporter. And someone's like, hey, man, you like comics and boxing. Have you ever heard of, and I can't even remember the Japanese name of this comic that has been around since 1989, but also this anime that they made 75 episodes of. And it's this anime story of a kid that takes up boxing and becomes a pro featherweight. And
I've never heard of it.
I was blown away. I'm like, oh my God, this is really great. It was
That's
so,
I mean, that's the cool thing.
Watch.
There's still like all this undiscovered by us anime out there, and it's like it's not like an 8-episode season or whatever. It's like you said, 75 episodes, 150 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good, B Things. Yes, indeed. This is the title. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. But Hajime no Ippo or whatever. Yeah.
That sounds right.
So yeah, it does sound right. But yeah, it's fantastic. I absolutely recommend it. Check it out on Netflix, and that's a lot of fun. Well, as you know, as I was telling you and I were talking about my conversation from Monday with Garth Ennis.
Yeah.
And I got listen, Garth's the man when it comes to war stories, not only comic books, but movies as well. And I'm like, and I feel this way about anime as well. I'm like, hey man, I'm the ugly American. By all means, point me to because we're so
educate me.
Yeah, because we're so country centric that it's like, oh, they make movies in other countries? Of course they do. Oh, they do animation in other? Of course they do. You know, it's great to again to get exposed to this stuff. And it's thrilling. So yeah, man, no, it's great. And yeah, Garth, if you haven't seen, everybody also made a short where I'm like, Garth, give me like 3 great British World War II movies. Yeah, it was no problem. And they look really cool. So
yeah, the what was the one? Was it like Cold?
Oh yeah, the beer one.
Yeah, that one sounded very, very cool. I got to track that one down.
You know, I was just curious if maybe it was on YouTube and it's not, but there are key scenes. It's
like Ice Cold in Alex or something.
Yeah,
like
it is.
that.
I believe that's right. I believe it is Ice Cold in Alex. And it's about this alcoholic tank commander who has to get, or ambulance commander that's trying to get his people across the desert, and he screws up. So he's like, all right, no more drinks until we get to where we need to be. And literally is like, man, when we get to base, there's this incredible bar that I'm going to drink and everything else. And again, the way Garth writes these really in-depth characterizations that you see in Johnny Red and some of the other great comics he's written, the war comics over the years. No, I get it. And again, that's why I'm like, all right, Garth's a great guy to ask. So yeah, man, no, I go to the source. I go to people like Richard to find out what the hell's going on in animation and his own books and everything. So, before we forget, because there is another book that is coming up for you, and tell me about this fine book.
Oh, yes. Thank you, John. Leo da Vinci Renaissance Kid, also coming out through Mad Cave, comes out in April. Actually, it comes out on April 15th, which is Leonardo da Vinci's actual birthday. It's going to be his 580-something birthday.
Crazy.
But our Leo is him as a young boy, and it's actually being solicited right now. So if I do a good job on this elevator pitch and you want to check it out, you can order it through your local comic shop right now or your local bookstore. But I'm again teaming with my good friend Marco Matrone. He's the artist on Tective. We did a Fear Book Club together way back in the day. We're doing another Tective right now. And Leo is kind of like looking at the real world Leonardo da Vinci as he was a kid. It's kind of another one of my passions. He's one of my, not just my favorite artists, but one of my favorite people ever in history. He had a really cool life. He's a really cool guy, aside from being, just a world-changing artist and engineer. But we're looking at it through a lens of historical fiction. It's very much like young Sherlock Holmes or young Indiana Jones Chronicles, but with a young Leonardo da Vinci as our main character. And this part is true. When he was about 12, 13, he grew up in the small town of Vinci. That's where his name comes from. He was kind of a country mouse. And then his estranged biological dad kind of comes out of the woodwork and says, I'm bringing you back to the big city with me, kid, Florence, so that you can get an apprenticeship with some real artists. This is at the height of the Renaissance. Florence is the center of all of it. Art is like big business. And so Leo gets dragged kind of against his will into Florence and was kind of like an expert in his hometown, but is starting in the bottom rung again, almost like an intern, right? But he starts to get his footing. He meets a couple of friends there, 2 other kids, and they kind of go on these very Amblin-y, Goonies type adventures. And of course, like in all my stories, they stumble upon some weird conspiracy that actually is threatening all of Italy. And this is like, what do I say? This is, the story is inspired by the facts, but not handcuffed by them. So it's really meticulously researched, but it's not like an educational thing. It's just like a fun action adventure romp. We think it's pretty funny. Marco's art is adorable. and we're very excited about that one. So if you just like beautiful artwork, you want to learn a little bit more about Da Vinci, give it a shot. It's a real hoot. And we kind of do the thing where you see like how some of his most famous inventions came to be, how he's kind of ideating on them, sort of like in the Speed Racer story, how you see the Mach 5 evolve over time. Well, we see the same thing with like his famous wing machine that actually inspired Bob Kane when he was thinking of Batman, when he was creating that. There's all these little kind of, artistic Easter eggs in there. Yeah, what else can I tell you about it? It's a good looking book. I hope people check it out and enjoy it.
When's Final Order cutoff?
That is a fantastic question. It's probably in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's, I think Lunar is the main distributor for Mad Cave, but they also, their books, including graphic novels, are distributed by Simon & Schuster. But excuse me, if you just Google my name, Richard Ashley Hamilton, and Leo da Vinci, or Leo da Vinci Renaissance Kid, that's the subtitle of Volume 1. We're hoping this will be a series. You'll find it, and I'm posting about it everywhere. I kind of excuse me, there's some little twists and turns in the story, so I have to be careful about how much I reveal about it now. But maybe in a couple of months, John, if you're not sick of me at the end of this thing, I can come back and we could talk about it a little more at length.
Okay.
Really proud of this one.
Gerald says for another anime recommendation, My Hero Academia is brilliant. And
for sure.
Felipe says he's got a copy of Tective on the way.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Felipe. I appreciate that. Can I plug Tective a little bit while I'm on? So
Sure.
I think we talked about it last time I was on here.
Yeah.
It's for those who don't know, it's another graphic novel. Volume 1 came out last year. We're working on Volume 2 right now. Same artist from Leo, Marco Matrone. It's great. And it's kind of like a post-apocalyptic noir story about a girl, bingo finder, who's like a scavenger in this sort of whacked out post-apocalyptic version of LA. Her favorite thing to find are books, especially old detective novels, Raymond Chandler, Mickey Spillane kind of stuff. And she's the only literate person in her community. Everyone else has forgotten how to read. It's that far in the future. And
I think we could find pockets of the United States where that's the case.
Yeah, it's set in, it's 5 years from now. The otherwise though, it's a pretty nice community. Everyone thinks it's like a utopia. They don't even have police because there haven't been crimes in thousands of years. But then one day, Bingo's best friend goes missing. And because there's no cops, there's no one to investigate it. And they're just like, oh, well, that's weird. And Bingo doesn't want to let it go. She wants to find her friend, make sure her friend's okay. And she thinks back to her old favorite books about these detectives, only the covers are so old and tattered that the only part of the word detective that's still legible is tective. And that's why we name our book that. And so she thinks, well, I'm just going to be like one of those detectives from back then. She finds an old fedora and trench coat, dresses up, and starts to explore this whacked out post-apocalyptic landscape. And in true noir fashion, the deeper she digs, the more she realizes that this supposed utopia that she lives in maybe isn't so perfect at all. So anyway, that's the plot for that one. More gorgeous art from Marco. And we actually got some pretty cool distinctions. Kirkus Reviews, they gave it a starred review, which is kind of in the comic book world. I didn't really know what that was until recently. It's a pretty good thing. And then they also put us on their list of the top 100 indie books of 2025. So not just graphic novels, not just YA, but just indie books in general.
Wow.
So super proud of that one. And people really seem to like it. Actually, I don't know if you've ever had this guy on your show, Brendan Hay. He's a great animation writer and comics writer. He just posted about it. He recommended that, and also in the same message, Spectators by Brian K. Vaughan and Nico Henry-Shawn.
Oh my God.
That was Rarefied Company.
Yeah.
But we're really proud of that one. It's out now. We got part 2 in the works. And I think I've said this on your show before, John, but for anyone who's just joining us this time, all my books come with the money back guarantee. If you read anything I write and you didn't like it, reach out to me. I will buy it back from you. I so far have not had to do that yet. Here's hoping I never do. But you know, I know you know, money's tight for everyone right now. Comics are expensive. There's so many good things out there, so many things competing for our attention. And I know what it is, how hard it is to work for a buck. So I want to make sure that people feel good about spending theirs and trying something that they may not have tried before.
Gerald wishes you congratulations.
Thank you.
That's very nice. And Hyper says that Brian K. Vaughan is always good company to be in the same sentence. Absolutely.
Yeah, no kidding.
Doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Way to go, Richard. Well, again, I can attest that Scoop is a lot of fun, and there's 4 volumes of it, and it really is. It's a really cool story that is worthy of your attention. And again, this great issue of Speed Racer, Tales from the Road, man, just a great exploration of Pops and Mrs. Racer, Mom Racer.
Yeah, Marlene,
if you will. I'll take it. But yeah, really great look at the Racer family through the years. Really cool. And then, yeah, coming up again, Leo da Vinci will be coming up in the spring. So that's awesome. Final comment. Respect from Gerald. Very, very nice. Respect. And thanks, Richard. Great job.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, John. It's always a joy talking with you. Thank you, everyone who watched, who asked questions. You can find me on Instagram. It's my full name, at Richard Ashley Hamilton. I'll probably be, if you want to meet in person, I'll probably be at San Diego this year, probably at New York, not at ALA, sadly. And then for free comic book day, or whatever we're calling it now, comic giveaway day.
Oh, is it not free comic book day anymore?
No, because Diamond had the trademark on.
Oh, God.
And so that's gone down the toilet too with everything else. Thanks a lot, guys.
Way to go. Way to go,
So anyway, it's being called something else, but it's the same type of deal. I'm going to be at a great shop in Ventura, California called Arsenal Comics and Games. I love this store. The owner, Timmy, is a really cool guy. He's a comic creator himself, but they do this really great thing where they actually, when you walk in, they put all the indie books in the front, and Marvel and DC are further back, because everyone knows they're going to work your way back and find Batman and X-Men and Spider-Man. But he really prioritizes indie books, including all the Mad Cave ones. So Speed Racer is there. I know he's going to support Leo, which is very cool of him. But I'll be there for whatever free comic book day is called in May. So if you're in the neighborhood, come and check it out. And even if you're not there for that, go check out that store when you get a chance. It's a really good retailer.
Very cool, man. Tomorrow night on Word Balloon Live, my dear friend Dennis Hopeless will be back and tell us why he has turned his back on the DC and Marvel worlds and is totally going the creator-owned route. I'm also recording tomorrow afternoon with my dear friend Jeff Lemire, and we'll be talking about Justice Society. And he is also bringing back, well, actually, I'm not going to say, because we're going to record something and we'll release it when it's closer to release time. So, no, we'll talk about Absolute Flash, and we'll talk, Absolute, right? Yeah. I forget which one. Ultimate is Marvel, Absolute is DC. So, yes, Absolute Flash, and a whole lot, and also another creator-owned Lemire book as well. So as Speed Racer and I wave goodbye, I thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow night. And until next time, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.